Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today is the start of a very exciting week for me because it is the start of Summerween. Gabby hosts the Summerween Readathon every year, and this is the first year that I have had a YouTube and been able to be a part of it. So we're gonna start out with a bang when it comes to Summerween. We're doing a 24-hour readathon, and this one's gonna be themed. So it's gonna be a vampire vlog, and I'm gonna start off with Night's Edge and Carmilla, and I also have A Dowry of Blood out on Libby, just in case. If I get done with these pretty quickly, we'll read A Dowry of Blood because I've been wanting to read that as well. And maybe I'll like it so much that I will have to buy it for myself. So I am debating whether or not I want to start with Carmilla because it's the one that I've been really excited to read. Night's Edge I'm excited as well, but like Carmilla, because it's edited by Carmen Maria Machado, I have been so excited because I've taken a peek and her footnotes and stuff. I'm just so excited. It also has a bunch of like pretty art in it as well. Like, oh, I think I'm gonna save this for the middle. So we're gonna read Night's Edge, and then if I'm starting to feel like this one's lagging a little bit, we'll go to Carmilla. But my goal is to read all three of these books, at least two of them, all three if possible, over the course of the next 24 hours with as little sleep as possible. I don't know if I'll have no sleep because I'm in my 30s and I need my sleep, but these are the two books I'm starting off with, and I'm just so excited. I have so many books on my TBR for this week, and I've just been waiting to read them, and they're like some of the most anticipated books on my TBR. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I am 66 pages into Night's Edge. I wasn't sure how I would feel about this going into it, but I'm really liking it so far. So Mia is a girl in her early 20s who's been dealing with her mom's vampirism since she was a kid, basically. She learned very quickly when her mom turned that she was going to have to give up a lot in order to keep her mom safe and out of these experimental facilities, because vampirism has spread across the world and these people are treated like second-class citizens, which feels like also very apt for this day and age with things that are happening all over the US. So far, I'm really liking Liz Caron's writing. I'm liking how she's portraying the vampirism, how it's affecting Mia, who is not a vampire. A lot of times in vampire book, the main character is the vampire. She's trying to kind of help her mom, who's been a vampire for like the last 10 years or so. So I really like it. The way that this is portrayed feels like an allegory for drug use or loving someone who is an addict, and I like that it's portrayed that way. That's a really new take on the vampire trope, and I love that it's something new. So I'm gonna continue reading this. It is very much a page turner for me right now, and I'm really liking it. I'm glad I started out with this one. It's not a very long book. It's not even 300 pages, so I'm sure I can finish it pretty quickly and then move on to Carmilla, but I am savoring what I'm reading right now. I'm really enjoying it. So I also have the reading sprints up for Gabby's Patreon that will be starting in a couple minutes. So I finished Night's Edge, and I definitely have a lot of thoughts about it. This book was really propulsive. It really kept me on my toes, and I finished it in about 3 hours. I started my 24-hour reading vlog around 12:30 noon, and it is now 3:30, and I finished Night's Edge. So it's definitely something that will keep you wanting to read. The main character, Mia, feels really fleshed out. I loved the very unique take on vampirism. It didn't feel like another tired vampire story. It was modern, but in a way that was not too modern. The way that they treated vampirism and the people that got vampirism felt really realistic. The way that vampires are othered and the way that they call them Sarahs, they don't tend to use the word vampire. It felt like it really could have occurred in our world. It definitely feels like an allegory for either like drug use or abuse, poverty, religion, religious cult. I feel like you could apply it to a lot of different things. So really like that. Mia felt really fleshed out, felt like her motivations made sense. It felt like you understood why she did the things she did. Maybe it wasn't the most well-adjusted because she spent her entire life caring for her mom basically ever since she was 10 and not having her own life at all. And this book is basically kind of the consequences of that. It gets even more complicated by the fact that her mom is a vampire, literally relies on her to keep her alive without hurting other people. So I definitely want to read the next one in the series. I think that one's called First Light. The first one's Night's Edge. And I would definitely read more from Liz Karen. I am going to move on to Carmilla. And I have a feeling I'm going to also be reading Dowry of Blood because I didn't realize I would finish this book so quickly. So I want to read Carmilla and let you know how that goes. I'm going to have some lunch though before I do anything else. Couple things. I have been reading Carmilla for the last like 25-30 minutes and I am now on chapter 3, about 25 pages in. So far, so good. I really think this book would be very alienating if I wasn't reading it with Carmen Maria Machado editing it. I've gotten to a point where he's talking about somebody in a carriage, and without the context that Carmen Maria Machado gives, I probably would have DNF'd the book after that because I know it's an old book, but that doesn't excuse like overt racism. It's not something that makes me want to read it. So reading this with the context and kind of like critiquing LeFanu is making me really enjoy this book. I really love the art. I love the red with the tannish and like the bite marks here. The art that's in some of the book pages is just beautiful. I love art incorporated into the story itself without making it like a picture book. So I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, I wouldn't have read it just as the regular edition of Carmilla. And as a bonus, and we're gonna take a quick break and open something that I ordered because I'm really excited about it. This dropped a long time ago and I didn't end up getting it because I ended up getting a pink one and it got dirty really fast, and I wish I would have gotten this one in the first place. So this is a Bagu, and I've tried other bags. They never hold as much stuff as a Bagu. This will hold my Kobo really well, along with like all of my other stuff. It holds a ridiculous amount of things. Like, I can put my Kobo and a book and a pop and my phone and another book and a remote, and there's still room, and it's just really cute. So I'm going to continue reading Carmilla and let you know what I think about it, but these books are going a lot faster than I thought they would. So I did download another book. After this one, I still have a Dowry of Blood. If I finish that, I downloaded My Roommate is a Vampire, which is like a cheesy rom-com, I think. This woman needs a roommate badly because she's broke, and he just happens to be a vampire, and I think they fall in love. But I'm gonna read some more of Carmilla and update you guys later. Okay, so our narrator, main character Laura, is so down bad for Carmilla. Listen to how she describes Carmilla, okay? Her complexion was rich and brilliant, her features were small and beautifully formed, her eyes large, dark, and lustrous. Her hair was quite wonderful. I never saw hair so magnificently thick and long when it was down about her shoulders. I often placed my hands under it and laughed with wonder at its weight. It was exquisitely fine and soft, and in color a rich, very dark brown with something of a gold sheen. I loved to let it down, tumbling with its own weight. As in her room, she lay back in her chair, talking in her sweet, low voice. I used to fold and braid it and spread it out and play with it. Heavens, if I had but known all. Really? Really? Like, LeFanu is trying to make women loving each other sound bad, but he's doing a very, very bad job of it. Their love sounds so beautiful. They love each other. And he's trying to make it sound like they hate each other. And that's just not the truth. I'm on page 33. I haven't gotten much farther, but I had to tell you about this because she spent like 6 or 7 paragraphs just describing this woman's hair and how much she loves to lay in it. If that isn't the most sapphic relationship thing I've ever heard of, I don't know what is. And I've been in sapphic relationships, girl. So as you guys saw, I finished Carmilla. Oh, that's not the right way. I'm hitting a wall because last night I stayed up watching Pop Star Academy for Cat's Eye, which I'm not even huge into K-pop, or I apparently didn't used to be. And I watched a full 5.5 episodes of this, so I didn't get to bed till 4 a.m. And I slept until probably like 9, so I'm just like all over the place. It is about 6 o'clock. Hold on, what time is it? 5:55. And I finished Night's Edge and I finished Carmilla, and I think I'm going to take a quick break before I start the next one, which I think is going to be A Dowry of Blood, which I have here on my Kobo from the library. I'm a little bit apprehensive about that one because it has to do, it's like the story of Dracula through his wives and their story of like abuse at his hands. And as somebody who has been verbally abused and manipulated, hopefully it's not very triggering, but if it is, we'll just switch to My Roommate's a Vampire. Those both are full-length books, so Night's Edge was just shy of 300, I think. Carmilla was only like 120. These other ones I think are both around 300 pages, so we'll see if I finish both of them tonight. I'm gonna rest for a bit. I'm probably gonna make an iced coffee, and then we're gonna read A Dowry of Blood. I'm so delirious I didn't even tell you about this book. So I gave this a 4. It was good. Everything that I said stands up, that I probably wouldn't have liked Carmilla as much. It probably would have been like a 3, if maybe a 2, if it hadn't been edited by Carmen Maria Machado and given like modern context, and also didn't shy away from being like, hey, this author was like racist and weird and homophobic. So the fact that Le Fanu is trying to make it seem like Laura is so against what Carmilla does is crazy to me. My battery's about to die, by the way, because it is so incredibly sapphic. These women are lesbians. They love each other. Carmilla, though she probably is problematic, is not the only willing participant in this. If you're going to read Carmilla, I would suggest reading this version because it is the best one. I haven't read the other one, but I can't imagine myself reading just Carmilla without this context. So 4 out of 5 for this version. So I'm about literally 15% of the way into A Dowry of Blood. Constanta is the main character. That is the name that Dracula gave her. She no longer has her own name, which is also a power play, but he changed her early in the book. She's talking about how he changed her and she felt so indebted to him, and he was basically love bombing her. Now she's talking about how she has to be on edge with his tempers and be very hyper aware of the rules of what to do to not make him upset. And that's very fascinating to me because it reminds me a lot of things I've heard about other people who have been in abusive relationships or unhealthy relationships that I have been in. And it's just really interesting to see it from the perspective of somebody who is like Dracula's progeny. So it's really interesting so far. I am really, really exhausted, and I'm really trying to fight taking a nap because it is like 6 something right now. Although if I do take a nap, I'll be able to stay up later to read because I really want to push myself and try to read My Roommate is a Vampire also, so I can get 4 books in for the day. It's like a book every 6 hours, right? So we'll see. So I did end up accidentally falling asleep for a couple hours, but when I woke up, we got some pizza, and I decided to switch to the audiobook version of A Dowry of Blood for part 2 because my neighbors decided that they wanted to use up the rest of their fireworks. So it's really hard to pay attention to a physical book or like an ebook when it's just bang, 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 bang. So I've been playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure and listening to part 2 of A Dowry of Blood. I'm about 60% of the way through now. while it is slightly triggering as far as like the gaslighting and the mistreatment and everything goes, it is a very interesting book. S.T. Gibson's prose is beautiful without being too much. I don't feel like it's trying too hard. Like, I tried to start reading Phantasma a while back, and it felt like the author had gotten a hold, see, there's my neighbors, had gotten a hold of a thesaurus and just decided to use every word in it. This doesn't have that, so I'm really happy about that. I think I'm going to switch back over to the physical book, or the ebook on my Kobo, my library ebook. I just hit part 3, and I just want to finish it out by reading it with my eyes. I'm going to try and still read My Roommate is a Vampire, because I want to just round it out with the 4th book, and I did have some sleep, so I'm probably going to be up for a while, but I'm going to let you go because you probably can't even hear me anyway. But I'm gonna finish up with Hello Kitty Island Adventure and read the rest of A Dowry of Blood. I have officially finished A Dowry of Blood. I feel like I went through every single emotion when reading this book. At first I was like, okay, this seems kind of interesting. Let's see how it goes. Well, the prose is pretty. I like it. Oh, this man is a huge narcissist and horrible, and it's very triggering. Let's just try to kind of push through it. So I pushed through it. He started doing more and more horrible things. I just wanted to know what was going to happen because I felt like our main character started out the book talking about revenge. So I'm like, okay, I got to get through this book and get to the revenge part because this man is pissing me off. And I won't tell you exactly what happened, but I did end up really enjoying this book, especially at the end. And it was just really well written really masterfully. I feel like S.T. Gibson has had experience with a narcissistic abuser because it felt so realistic to what it's actually like and how a very intelligent, very strong-willed person can turn into somebody that they don't recognize because people are incredibly manipulative. And I think vampirism is the perfect allegory or metaphor for that. So I think this was the perfect choice to kind of tell this story. You know, abusers will suck you dry until you have nothing else left for them and then they'll just discard you. And vampirism, same thing. So I think it's perfect. I am a little bit delirious, so if I'm not making sense, I apologize. I gave this a 5. It's probably going to be one of my favorites of the year, honestly. So that is the official 3rd book finished for this vlog. I was going to be reading My Roommate is a Vampire. Didn't realize that when I got it on Libby, it was from my one library that's not on my Kobo, so I can't read it on my Kobo, so I will not be reading that. We're going to see if we can find another book. I was going to reread Twilight, but it is 500 something pages, and I don't remember it being that long. So I was going to reread that, and I'm just not going to do that. I'm not rereading Twilight over the next 12 hours and reading 500 pages of Twilight. I'll catch up with you, let you know if I'm reading something else, what I will be reading, and if we can get a 4th book in for this 24 hours. My hair looks insane. So it is the next morning because I'm old and I did need to sleep. However, it's about 8:50 right now, and I have until 12:30 to finish this book. I decided to start on Scott Westerfeld's Peeps, which is a book that I had been obsessed with when I was a teenager. It came out in 2005, and I read this many times. It is a vampire novel, obviously, and it is YA. It's about Cal, who has this like form of vampirism and is trying to track down his sexual partners and his progenitor because it's a sexually transmitted disease, I guess. It's told in a very like epidemiological way, and this book is actually why I like really got into epidemiology, and I still really enjoy epidemiology because at the beginning of like there's like short chapters in between the longer chapters, and it basically just tells you about a different like parasite or some epidemiological phenomenon, and I always found that so fascinating, and it's bringing me like such nostalgia reading this, and it's a pretty quick read. I'm hoping that I finish it in the next 3.5 hours. I have the audiobook that I haven't tried yet. I've just been reading it on my Kobo, but we'll see if I can finish it. I'm kind of racing against the clock to be done by like 12:30, but if I can finish this, that means I'll have done 4 books in 24 hours. 4 vampire books in 24 hours to kick off Summerween. No more yapping. I need to read. Like ASAP. I need to read. We are getting down to the wire. It is 11 o'clock. I am 81% of the way through Peeps. I have the physical book here somewhere that I bought from a library sale like a long time ago, but I'm not digging it out. I just found it on Libby, so I've been reading it on that. I'm enjoying this just as much as I was when I read it in high school, which for me, YA books that I used to love in high school, I feel like it's hit or miss whether I'm gonna like it as an adult, but I'm really enjoying it. There's a mystery involved, there's little fun snippets of epidemiology. It's a vampire book that treats the vampirism like it's just a virus. There's no supernatural aspect to it except for like the abilities that the virus gives you. It doesn't let you turn into a bat, it doesn't let you fly, etc. I enjoy when there's like a faux science explanation for why things work in sci-fi or fantasy books. And yeah, I'm still really enjoying this just like I did when I was 15. So I've got an hour and a half to finish this. I'm 80% on the way through. I don't doubt that I can do it, but it is cutting it closer than I was hoping it would be. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this and report back to you, and then we'll talk about everything that I read over this 24 hours. Alright friends, I finished Peeps and I did it with an hour to spare. I ended up really liking this again. It held up from when I was a teenager. I didn't know if it would because it, like I said earlier, it is really hit or miss with those type of things. There were a couple things that I noticed that since I've studied anthropology that weren't quite accurately, the information wasn't quite presented accurately as far as certain like evolutionary things or epidemiological things that I've learned, but I think that's just how the author understood it and maybe the research at the time. This is a 10-year-old book, so who knows, but I'm happy that I read it because I would still recommend it to people, and maybe people want to pick up the series. It doesn't feel overly YA, it's not overly angsty, doesn't dumb down. For its time, I think it was really great. I think 2005, there could be some really bad books. I mean, I'm pretty sure Twilight came out then, which at the time I thought it was the height of literature, but now looking back on it, I know just exactly how Mormon that book is. This doesn't have that issue. So while I would maybe do a little bit extra research and not go off of specifically everything that he says about the epidemiological stuff at the beginning of some of the chapters, I would say it is still a good book to read, and it was fun to read it as an adult. I gave that a 5. I still think that it's 5-star worthy. I don't think I rated things back then. I didn't have a Goodreads. Storygraph didn't exist. Obviously I don't use Goodreads now, but right now, I would still give it a 5. I think it was great. I finished 4 books. I read 1,060 pages, and all 4 of them were vampire books. Takeaway that I got from the first one, Night's Edge, it was like a really interesting take on vampirism that I found really unique. They mentioned Ursula K. Le Guin in there as like the main character. She read Ursula K. Le Guin. It was her teacher's signed book, so I found that really interesting because Ursula K. Le Guin is one of my favorite authors. I do want to pick up the sequel. I've heard it's not quite as good, but also it just depends on people's preferences, so definitely a unique book. Gave that one 5 stars. So Carmilla, like I mentioned before, I don't think I would have read it all the way through if it had just been the original text. I think that writing a sapphic novel as a man, first of all, supposedly being in the brain of a woman in a sapphic relationship, he had no idea what the hell he was talking about. But I think Carmen Maria Machado saved it and kind of made this interesting and made me enjoy the story in a different light, and I really appreciated it, and I would suggest anyone read that specific copy of Carmilla. I gave that a 4 out of 5, and I'm glad I read it because I do want to read some of the retellings like Hungerstone and maybe see if there's stuff that I recognize in there. I read then A Dowry of Blood, which I thought was incredible, masterful, a great representation of narcissistic abuse, and I think that even if you have been a victim of narcissistic abuse, it is possibly something that you can and should read. If you're not able to, that's fine, but if you don't feel too incredibly triggered by it, I would suggest reading it. I gave that a 5, and I think it's gonna be one of my favorites of the year. The take on vampirism and narcissistic abuse together is just like they go hand in hand, you know, chewing up, spitting people out, and discarding them when you don't need them, literally, in this book as vampires. So I think that was really interesting. And then, like I said, Peeps, that was also a 5 out of 5. So I think it was really successful. I can't believe I read 1,060 pages. Like, some of those books were shorter, but the amount of pages shows just how much I actually ended up reading. and I still let myself sleep a little bit. So I think it's a great start to Summerween. I'm really excited to read the rest of the books on my TBR and just enjoy this time of the year and bring a little bit of spookiness into the summer. I'm so glad that Gabby does this every year. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's any vampire books that you think I should read that I might find enjoyable, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!